Just waiting on Scott to join. Hopefully he will join us very soon. I know he's been looking forward to this as I have. Telling him to hurry the fuck up. Cat Gang, El Dandy, everybody in the chat. If you want to um, drop in some urban myths you want me to discuss. We're going to start by talking about Juggalo urban myths, and we're going to then segue into non-Juggalo related urban myths, because this is for both my Juggalo channel and for my my Substack Bleed, which you should definitely check out if you can. If you don't mind just a moment, we're going to have a green screen. Nice. And there we go. Now you can kind of see the Bleed logo a little bit. So, yeah, we're talking about different Juggalo urban myths. Hopefully, like I said, we're waiting for Scott to join. He's the guy who's supposed to be talking with me about this. I'm not sure where he is. Madrox extends the olive branch shirt. I don't know. Well, today we're talking about urban myths. I don't know if that exactly count, but yeah, I mean that's cool that Madrox extended an olive branch, and I guess now we have no more. We have no more. See, I don't know how I like that Bleed logo. Shout out Hot Topic. Shout out Hot Topic indeed. Hot Topic was the shit back in the day. If you could not venture to ICP shows or to hatchetgear.com and get the good merch, then you had to go to Hot Topic. I was not somebody who bought a lot of Hot Topic merch, but I don't diss on people who did get the Hot Topic shit. I mean, you had to rep one way or another, right? Okay, Cat Gang, what's your urban myth for future reference? I want to know. Oh, there comes Scott. There he is. Oh, and he's sideways. You got to do it vertical, like TikTok style.
We're doing TikTok style. Is this what
TikTok
our
style.
world has come to?
This is what the motherfucking world has come to. Okay, so Cat Gang. I told him Twisted MNE funds Kevin Smith's Chronic Con. El Dandy, I don't know if that is. Hold on, okay. Cat Gang wants to talk about the Black Volga Eastern Europe Cold War era, and El Dandy, I guess, is saying that Twisted Chronic Con is more profitable than Magic Ninja Entertainment. I guess El Dandy is saying that Twisted funds Kevin Smith's Chronic Con. Uh, that's that sounds like an urban myth because it sounds not true, but it could be true. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Mr. Scott?
I mean, funding Kevin Smith's Chronicon absolutely does sound like something Twisted would do.
It does. It absolutely does sound like something they would do. It would be in character for them, yes. But the question is, would Kevin Smith need their money, or are they just like, or are you just saying El Dandy? Are you just saying they're like a one sponsor among many? Well, yeah, right. I mean, I'm not saying they're not the same. They're not the same. You know, company production behind them or whatever. But that doesn't necessarily mean Twisted funds Kevin Smith's Chronic Con. Doesn't mean they don't either. I don't know. I'm truly not in the know on that.
And I'll be honest, like we're gonna start things off here with some Juggalo, some music related urban legends, and that's falling more on you. I'll come in later with some more stuff.
Twisted ain't making money no more. Well, that's definitely not true because you see, when you stop making money, then you stop doing the thing. Like if they weren't making money, they wouldn't be on tour right now.
They're
Like
definitely getting something out of it, right?
they're definitely getting something out of it. Yeah. Twisted is begging. Okay, well, let him beg. I'm not here
Yeah,
to talk about Twisted versus ICP. That's not what we're here to talk about today. But if that's, you know,
yeah, absolutely not. But I gotta say, you know, and I know a decent amount about the whole thing. It does feel like I think maybe this isn't about the money necessarily. I don't know if you've ever had somebody who was close best friends for fucking ever, whether you got along most of the time or not, just disappear out of your fucking life and having this feeling of um maybe there's these words that I can say that's gonna make us come together again, that's gonna make us be friends again, that's gonna make everything okay again. I don't know that that's what's happening here, but man, it's gotta be devastating, even if it's someone you don't even necessarily like, to just disappear from your life.
I agree wholeheartedly on that. There's no way both camps don't miss working together on some level because they just made so much great shit. There's no way they can't somehow miss that a little bit. I don't care what anybody says, but that's that's a completely different topic of conversation, and we may have that soon. But today we're talking urban myths, Juggalo urban legends, and further than that, we're not just doing Juggalo urban legends. We're starting with Juggalo urban legends, segueing into other kinds of urban legends, and we're going to get to some really fucked up ones. I got some that are pretty goddamn gross.
Good.
Um,
I vote we start with the fun ones, right?
right, yeah. And I was going to start real easy actually with Juggalos are a gang, that urban legend. Because that is, are there any urban myths about people going missing at the gathering? Not urban myths, but I think there are people who have gone missing at the gathering. Um, but there are people who have died at the gathering. I know that there have been ODs and all kinds of stuff. But Juggalos are a gang. Okay, so I thought before we started we should establish a kind of a grading scale, if you will. Is
Sure.
Violent J a predator? I don't know. I don't know the man personally. I hope not. But the statuses are completely false, mostly false, but with caveats, 50-50, mostly true, but with caveats, and completely true. And then lastly, we have no idea. So Juggalos are a gang. Mostly false, but with caveats. So it goes like this. Um, the idea that Juggalos participate in gang related activity doesn't come from nowhere. The band itself, Insane Clown Posse, started off as Inner City Posse. Their first few albums, particularly Carnival of Carnage and Ringmaster, lean pretty hard into their street gang roots. You can check out songs like Murder Go Round, or if you really want to hear some shit, listen to Gang Related by ABK featuring Violent J. That's whew, theatricality gone awry, we'll say, at least in retrospect, hindsight. But the idea that Juggalos as a whole are a gang is preposterous to saying any fan of any band or musician is a gang. Um,
Except for
like
Taylor the Swifties, they're definitely a gang.
Swifties might be a gang.
Pretty
Um,
sure.
was cloned when he got skinny in 2011. Maybe. I thought he got
I
lap
don't
band surgery.
I feel like you don't understand what multiple man powers are. So
Right?
what happened was the main one went and worked out and got skinny, and then the clone just hung up. My mom is a gang, as it turns out. True
Um,
story.
Well, what I was going to say is though on Juggalos being a gang is if you look back at like Public Enemy, NWA, Tupac, Snoop, Dre, everybody on death row, everybody was calling them gangs back in the day too, calling their fans hoodlums and heavily policing their concerts and stuff like that. And again, it's not that there's no truth to there being gang activity within, well, the aforementioned bands and ICP. It's that the idea of Juggalos as a whole being a gang, that is just bullshit. They're mostly just music fans. I've never been in a gang. Scott, you've never been in a gang. Well, we won't talk about that anyways. But the main thing is that there have been juggalos or people who are using juggalo uh, aesthetics and lingo who have formed gangs, which is completely beyond the control of ICP and other juggalos. So there's a modicum of truth to it, but it's not true, not really. And moreover, it comes down to juggalos as a whole, not a gang. ICP themselves have not been a gang for 34 years. And also the FBI that put them on that list or whatever, that list doesn't even exist anymore. So no, you can definitively say Juggalos are not a gang. But I will say, ICP and their aesthetic does lend itself to gang activity. It lends itself, it looks like it. If you're a lazy gang member, ICP has got some interesting looking insignia that might tickle your fancy, I guess.
Not really in a gang so much as gang adjacent.
Gang adjacent. Well, I mean, ICP was a gang. I mean, that was a thing, but they stopped being in 1992. So
I mean, they were a gang the same way like the Generals are a basketball team.
I don't know. I didn't hang out with Joe and Joey back in those days. Uh, Something tells me Shaggy was doing more gang banging than Jay. I just get that idea, but I could be wrong. L. Dandy says, was Monoxide really trying to get Eminem signed to psychopathic, or did he say that years later to make himself look good? I mean, I don't know. Again, I wasn't there, but I will say this: Eminem did open for House of Crazies. That is verifiably true. You can go on YouTube and watch it. So it's safe to say Eminem and Monoxide were familiar with one another. Eminem being as talented as he was, ICP looking for talent to sign around that time, it doesn't sound that unlikely that it could have happened. Um, it seems reasonable that that could happen. I think the reason that you can ask that question is because it doesn't seem that crazy that it could happen in 1997, 98 when Eminem was a nobody. Why wouldn't that have happened? I mean, that may well have happened. I don't know, but it seems legit, like it could be legit.
Not to mention, Monoxide of everyone from the psychopathic crew seems like one of the least likely to just make shit up. I feel like
You say that, and I say that. Most juggalos seem to hate Monoxide and think he's lying because he's always saying things about Papa J that they don't like. So,
uh
um,
well, I don't take my directions from they may not be a gang, but some of them sure do act like a cult sometimes.
which brings me to number two: are juggalos a cult? The
Not
urban
really.
myth that juggalos might be a cult. One could look at the juggalo community and see something cultish, but I call that status completely untrue, and I'll tell you why. Number one, central leadership would be Jay and Shaggy, and a fair number of juggalos despise Violent J. Um, you go on the forums, half of the people love him, half of the people fucking hate him. So number two, this is the most important, I think. Um, you can leave anytime you want. As a juggalo, you don't have to announce your departure. There's the door. You can leave anytime you want. Nobody's keeping you here. And number
I don't know if
three,
that's required for a cult.
huh?
I don't know that it's required for a cult to completely separate them from everyone else, not let them leave.
Well, I've got one more, and it is that cults sell certainty, and I don't think ICP does. ICP sells different ways of looking at the afterlife, ranging from heaven and hell to absolute nothingness. With their most recent album, The Naught, and they're all, if you hear Volunteer talk about it, he's very quick to say, I'm just guessing here. I'm fucking just a guy. I'm not, he says that the Dark Carnival came to him in a dream, but he also makes clear to, like, say to people, it's, you know, don't just listen to me, listen to he thinks that it's, more about the message than also I don't see Jay with a lot of harems.
Much to his chagrin.
Mr. Eve says, and I know this guy actually, good rapper, I believe. Um, is based on the same psychology as any cult or fan club with an identity. Whoop whoop shit is totally cult. I'm not saying there's not cult like behavior. There is definitely cult like behavior. But I mean, that's why they say like it's a cult fan base or cult films or whatever cultish, but a full blown cult? No, I don't think so.
I think much like the FBI and gang question, this would have been a lot more relevant in the 90s. Because before the first Joker cards fully dropped, I remember knowing people who were like, "Oh man, when all the cards drop, this something crazy is gonna happen." Fucking the world's gonna end or some crazy shit.
I ne- I knew. Okay, this is funny because back in the day, back in the day, you had people who really, 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 really believed in the carnival as like a real fucking entity. And they thought like the ringmaster was like hanging out in their fucking bedrooms. If you played Ringmaster's Word in the Dark, the last song on the album Ringmaster, which by the way is the best ICP album ever made. Play Ringmaster's Word in the Dark, then like the Dark Carnival would come into your bedroom or something. And then the sixth Joker card comes out, and Violent J says specifically the carnival is a parable for God. Well, if you're coming out and taking the subtext, turning it into text, and saying it's a parable for God, by definition, you are unculting the shit out of that. You know what I mean? You're just at that point, you're just saying, we follow God. We've always been behind him. The carnival's God, and may all juggalos find him. Seems pretty clear to me that they're saying this is what we do. Y'all do whatever you want, come to your own conclusions.
It's a metaphor.
It's a metaphor. You know, I that was my problem with the unveiling. It wasn't that it was about God. It was that it was so goddamn obvious before then. They didn't need to come out and say it's a metaphor. But I digress. Hi,
I
Cat Gang.
in the same vein, let's give an honorable mention as far as urban legends go to the Blair Witch Project, something which just straight up wouldn't work today. Because I know for a fact there were people who believed it. And there was a TV documentary that came out right before the movie come out. Like people believed that shit was real for a hot minute. Like they got them, you know.
Well, and that was part of the fun of the movie was people who thought it was real.
Well,
And
I was gonna say I feel like it's a different culture now. It's a completely, I guess, zeitgeist, which I hate to use the word because it's got dumb connotations to it now, but the zeitgeist of our society no longer really accept stuff like that.
that is true. That is true. But that's depressing, and I'm not trying to be depressing right now.
I'm sorry, that was
Uh,
my bad.
Mr. Eve puts up a good point. He says people having mystical experiences makes me wonder how much is hypnosis or mind control, but maybe just suggesting something spiritual is enough to make people go a little nuts. And it definitely is. Like, there's always going to be a subset of people out there who, if you just suggest something, you know, mystical or supernatural, they're going to latch onto that like a motherfucker, or conspiratorial for that matter as
Well,
well.
it doesn't even have to be that. You've got like the dancing plague of what 1912 or something like that. You've got the laughing, the infectious laughing thing. Um, I can't remember exactly where that was, but it was just like an entire city of people losing their minds It doesn't have to necessarily be God or demons and devils and the ringmaster or anything like that. It could be just
Well,
about any
I think the dancing thing, if memory serves, it's been
infected
proposed.
bread is what the proposition was. The
Yeah.
earth grain was infected.
Did monoxide knock that 15-year-old Sugar Slam claimed it, then deleted her Twitter? I don't know. I don't know who anybody on Psychopathic Records has had sex with, other than the fact that I know Jay has banged his ex-wife and his current wife, and probably Laney before she died, and Shaggy has banged Renee. Beyond that, I don't know who all's had sex with who. And the only reason I know those people have banged is because, like, they've, you know, been couples together on television and shown themselves. So, if Monoxide had sex with a minor, I do not know. I have no idea. Hope not.
I hope not too, but would it surprise me? And I want to be clear, I'm not trying to normalize it. I'm not trying to say it's okay, but look at music artists in general.
Yeah,
Like
I think if you
Juggalo
look at
song.
most music artists that have gotten relatively successful, especially 70s, 80s, 90s, early to mid 2000s, you're gonna find a lot of them have done things you really would rather not know about. Uh,
Absolutely.
I think a great many of them. Oliver Twisted. We are talking about urban myths. Um, they made a song with Jimmy Urine. Well, so did a lot of other bands. I know Jimmy from MSI got in some trouble, but a ton of bands have made. ICP it took Mindless Self Indulgence out on tour for that matter. Back in 1999, I saw Mindless open up for ICP on the Jekyll Brothers tour. So you're not guilty by association. Moving on to more Juggalo urban myths. Juggalos are stupid. That's an urban myth. That's one of those 50-50. Some of them are. There are some stupid ass juggalos in the world. But there are
Really
also
shouldn't judge all juggalos by you.
yeah. Don't judge all juggalos by me because I'm not the picture of the smartest juggalo in the world. But you can look at people like I put some notes here. Nathan Rabin, former AV club writer who wrote the book "You Don't Know Me, But You Don't Like Me," spent years studying juggalos, eventually became one. Dr. Caitlin Reedy, an anthropologist, studied the Juggalo gatherings from an academic perspective. Showed Juggalos as one of the last remaining subcultures. You got people like Chuck D, uh, co-founder of Public Enemy, one of the most politically important rap groups in history. Murs, who is an amazingly fucking intelligent rapper, and Lars, aka MC Lars, aka Andrew McFarlane. That guy had a show called Hatchet Chat, and we know MC Lars is smart as fuck. He's like a founder of Nerdcore Rap, and fucking, I'm uh, proud to say I've played a show with him before. It's Clockwork E blackball because Jump stays girlfriend. Again, I do like Clockwork E though. That's all I can tell you is I like Clockwork E. And I know psychopathic do be blackballing people. They do that for sure. Um, Juggalos are dangerous. That's an urban myth. Status 50-50. Not dangerous unless provoked. That's where I leave that one. Ask Josh Block. Are
I think that
Juggalos dangerous?
I think it boils down to all people can be dangerous. Anyone can be dangerous.
Right.
So yes, but no,
Juggalos as a whole, are they more dangerous than, say, um, Lady Gaga fans? I would say, yeah, probably, if provoked. Hey, I know who Cyrax is. That's that dude with the little head, right? That looks like a chicken. Rumors about fixing the situation with Clockwork Key. I hope that happens. I hope so too. Clockwork Key's the shit. Magnets. Um, Plenty of people know how magnets work, but also, interestingly enough, there's a lot of questions even in the scientific community about exactly how magnets really do work. They're not all answered, believe it or not. Scott could probably.
when you get to the submolecular level, you start having questions. But basically, it's just alignment of electrons that creates an energy flow. which is why you can create magnets with electricity or lightning or whatever. In fact, you can take a piece of iron and create your own. Well, do the Ben Franklin experiment. Let it get hit by lightning, it'll magnetize. And depending on how much current is run through it, I believe depends on whether or not it's a permanent or temporary magnet.
So yeah, Scott knows how they work. I know if you ask me, this is the funny part. If you ask me how magnets work, I would say, well, there are electrons, positive and negative charged ones, and the negatives are attracted to the positives are attracted to the negatives, and the positives are repelled by the positives, and the negatives are repelled by the negatives, and that's as good an explanation as you probably get from me. How would I do though, Scott?
Yeah, I mean that's a fine explanation, I think.
The Juggalo Holocaust. I That was a long time ago, wasn't it, Mister Eve? Refresh my memory. I do remember. I'm going to say a word here people don't like, but I do remember online there being a presence of something called the Juggalette Rape Posse, which gross. Don't get me wrong. I'm not like at all say that's a good thing, but I remember back in like 2007, 8, there were people threatening this thing called the Juggalette Rape Posse. They were going to go around the gathering and unconsensually engage in sex acts with juggalettes. That never materialized to my knowledge. I don't think the Juggalette Rape Posse, the JRP, I don't think they ever actually went through with anything they said.
I hope they went around and got the shit kicked out of them.
I hope they got the shit kicked out of them. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, if it, and like I said, it's like Josh Block learned at the Gathering. Like the Gathering, are when I'm going back to that question, are Juggalos dangerous? It's not that Juggalos are inherently dangerous, but if you come to the Gathering or an ICP show and try and like pull some mo bullshit, you're gonna catch a beat down. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna catch if you're looking for a fight, you will find one quickly. Um, that's
And I
what I
feel
meant by 50-50.
I'm fairly Juggalo adjacent. I
Yeah,
wouldn't call myself Juggalo. I don't think anyone would, but I know way more about ICP and Twisted and stuff than the layman. And I've always found Juggalos to be like extremely nice, accepting
that's because you're
people.
not an asshole.
I beg to differ, but I mean, maybe that's it. Maybe that's all it is.
Well, El Dandy, you're right. Josh Block didn't learn because people like him don't learn because people who get on TikTok and shout the N word for money at people passing by are never going to learn anything. They're stupid and deserve whatever happens to them. Well, deserve anything bad that happens to them. How's that? Not anything good. Yeah, all I know is that he was shook. He was shook there for a minute and ran and screamed like a bitch, like the bitch he is. And I'm sorry, being autistic is not an excuse for acting like that. If you're, if
I'm aut-
you're,
I don't.
huh?
I'm autistic. I don't yell the N word all the time. I don't do that dumb shit. No,
And the thing, go
my
ahead.
matching is higher than most people, then that's a survival tactic. Because, as CDC knows, my childhood was not idyllic. But
I don't think most juggalos childhoods were idyllic. We didn't get here from nothing. Put the fries in the bag. Yeah, fucking. If you say put the fries in the bag to Josh Block, apparently he starts. Well, he flips out. Did J cover up Sarah Russie's overdose as a suicide? I haven't even heard of that. I didn't even know Sarah Russie did overdose. So there you go. I don't know much about Sarah Russie other than that she's like J's girlfriend. She invited Josh Block, and she shouldn't have. Now Lainey, I do know she overdosed. Do I think J had anything to do with that? I mean, I have no reason to believe that. Doesn't mean he didn't. Gotcha. Gotcha, El Dandy. I don't know if he did or not. I have no reason to believe it. So, Scott, did you have some urban legends you wanted to bring up? We'll take a break from the Juggalo ones and break into some different types of urban legends if you got something interesting you want to bring up.
Yeah, yeah. Let's for the time being stay in the realm of media and celebrities and stuff like that because I want to start with some of the ones that we grew up with. Um, and I want to start with what I call Celebrity X, which is it's been said about so many different people that I'm not sure who the original person was. I.e., Celebrity X lost a gerbil in their butt. Poor brave
Richard,
Tiddlywink.
I believe Richard Gere was the first one that was about. I believe. I could be
And I'm
wrong, but I
pretty
think
sure
it was
it's
Richard Gere.
one. And I feel like that's been fairly heavily debunked. I'm not saying no one's ever put a gerbil in their butt, but there's no evidence of any celebrities doing it.
Let me tell you something about sex, okay? If you can think of it, somebody's done it.
Oh, absolutely, somebody's done it, but I don't. Well, okay, so leading to the next one, which and I think this was more part of gay panic than anything, which was Celebrity X had their stomach pumped because they swallowed too much semen.
So that I actually researched as well, and
Oh,
I came to an interesting conclusion on that. So it's not true, but it was Rod Stewart, and I'm trying to find it here. Hold on. So Rod Stewart basically he did not have semen pumped out of his stomach, but it was like a publicist or someone really close to him that started the rumor because they were mad at him. So
okay.
while it didn't actually happen, it did come from someplace close to him. At least that's what I read.
All right, how about Celebrity X is actually a man? Now we've seen a resurgence of this one, I feel like, with every black woman because it's become very racist. But when it originally started out, anybody could have been a.
The first one I remember hearing was Jamie Lee Curtis because she has unisex first and middle names. Oh, we're getting to Manson's ribs. Don't worry, we'll be there.
Well, and I think the one for her is a little different, and it's that she's intersex, so possibly hermaphroditic. And you know what? On that one, I actually have to say, I don't know. Her kids
Yeah,
were
yeah.
adopted.
The legend goes that she was born with both male and female parts, so they named her Jamie Lee until they decided what sex to go with. Is that true? There is absolutely no way for me to know that at all. Even if it is true, let's say it's true. Um, this is the kind of content you look for, Don's Pinball Podcast. If it is true, then it's not like she'd be out here saying, like, by the way, I was born with a cock and I had him cut it off and the balls, and we just kept the pussy. I doubt that she would say that. But if she
So
was going to say it, she wouldn't say it like that.
early in her career, I remember Lady Gaga having the same, which I don't at all believe is true. But if it were true, I think she would have told us. Of all of them, I think she would have been like, "Yeah, yeah, it's true. I have a penis."
That I can agree with because I feel like at this point, being trans is so not something that most celebrities would hide at this point. I mean, maybe, but I doubt it. I mean, especially since Bruce Jenner became Caitlyn Jenner. Since that happened, I think it's been much more easy for people to just say, "Oh yeah, I'm this." You know what I mean? Not to mention, you've got people like Eddie Izzard who went as like I'm a transvestite for a long time, and then changed later to no, I'm trans. Um, so I Elvis is alive, which is funny, a funny one because once you start digging, it doesn't actually seem as ridiculous. Well, I don't know if Elvis is. I mean, Elvis might have lived longer than they said, but I think he's dead now. Like even if he did survive past when they said he died, by now he'd be dead.
So we're
Like
just gonna agree that Bubba Hotep was a documentary.
Bubba Hotep was a documentary. Here's the funny part. I don't believe that Bruce Campbell's character really was Elvis, but I do believe that Ozzie Davis was JFK in that movie.
Same, yeah. Yeah. Your wife wouldn't stay with you if you were trans. Mine would. I'm pretty sure. I don't think
Um,
she would care. I think CDC could.
If I was trans, I doubt Andrea would stay with me. I doubt it. Just because I mean, she wants to be with a man, and I don't think she wants to be with a woman. So I think that's what it is more than anything. Bubba Hotep of Evil Dead. Yes. Well, is Fago a lower class psyop? Yes, that is definitely true. Fago is a psyop. Scott, you got another one?
Oh, I got more. How about so we'll leave the Marilyn Manson one for the last celebrity one.
Yeah.
Okay. So how about Walt Disney's head is frozen and in the Disney vault?
I believe there was some truth to him looking into it.
Into cryogenics, yeah, but
Yeah,
there's
he was looking into being cryogenically frozen, but he never actually was. Oh,
um
Oliver Twisted knows Gaga's grandmother, and she shops at Kroger and says Lady Gaga is definitely a Lady Gaga, not a boy Gaga.
for a joke only CDC will get. How's her grandma?
Ah, ah. Yeah, that's an insider. Um, but yeah, Walt Disney is not cryogenically frozen. That is bullshit. But he did look into it, and I too am going to look into it. See if anything's changed since what, the '60s? Is that when he died? The '70s?
60s, I think.
Charlie Manson was a sleeper cell for the CIA. I mean, first off, you'd have to believe. Now, I being a this is interesting. It's interesting you brought this up, Oliver Twisted, because I am an actual true crime writer. I make a fair amount of money writing true crime scripts, and I did one on MK Ultra a few years ago. And the idea that sleeper cells even worked, they tried real hard to make sleeper cells, but like if you read the actual documents on it, the way they went about it was so absolutely unbelievably stupid that it makes you realize how incompetent the government actually is. Like, they're just like us, guys. They were trying to create sleeper cells by fucking giving people huge doses of LSD and playing tape recordings in a football helmet they chained to their heads. And I'm like, that's not how you turn someone into a sleeper cell. That's how you drive someone insane. But that's all you're doing is driving them nuts. It, I, if you ever want, if you ever want to check out my write up on MK Ultra. It's about 20,000 words long as fuck, but I know a lot about it, believe it or not. And most of it's just really, really fucking stupid and sadistic. It's just dumb sadism for no reason.
Am I crazy or was it the Unabomber was in MK Ultra?
It's said the Unabomber and what's his name, LSD guy, Timothy Leary, Tim
Okay.
Leary, Unabomber, Charles Manson has been said. It's all like maybe, maybe not. Like it's hard telling. The thing is everything we know about MK Ultra comes from a box about this big. Like they got rid of an entire huge fucking warehouse full of documents, and all that was left was like one fucking box. So what we know is a drop in the bucket about MK Ultra.
I'm going to be honest with you guys. I am very hesitant to believe anything that happens on Rogan's show. I've watched that dude watch an AI video and be like, "Oh, it's real, it's real, it's real," and then when he's proven wrong, he goes, "Oh, well, it could have been real," and I'm
I
just
kind
like,
of disagree with you on Rogan's show, only in that I don't. Okay, so I'll go ahead and say I don't agree with Rogan on a whole lot, but I do think he has interesting guests from time to time,
so
uh,
I also
and
think he has morons on.
he has morons on, and he has interesting people on too. Like I mean, he had Quentin Tarantino on not that long ago. He's had Billy Corgan of Smashing Pumpkins on not that long ago.
I'm just
I
use the channel as a source of truth.
But he says some dude wrote a book about it that started as an article, became a book. He found all the evidence. He was on Rogan or whatever. But I agree with you. Um, yeah, and that's an interesting point because a lot of good books started as articles. Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas started as a Rolling Stone article. Hunter S. Thompson went on to be, one of the greatest writers of the 20th century. Was the ICP Twisted Split a work? to split
No.
the fan base and build a reunion nest egg if the well runs dry enough? I don't think so because I think they were making more money together than apart.
Yeah.
Just my opinion, but I mean, now ICP doesn't have Twisted's revenue stream. They don't have Dark Lotus's revenue stream. They don't have Blaze's revenue stream or ABK's revenue stream. So that's a lot of streams of revenue from touring, album sales, and merch sales that ICP doesn't have anymore.
The Bin Laden one about being born in San Diego, California. He was trained by the CIA, as
That's
was
true.
as was the entire
Listen, Al
organization.
Qaeda was given their weapons by the United States. That's a fact.
Yeah, well, and as often happens when we overthrow our government and try to set up a puppet dictator, it doesn't last, or it causes worse issues than what were there already. We've been fighting proxy wars in foreign countries since the Cold War, or
El Dandy, to answer your question real quick, ICP probably, definitely, actually does still get royalties from old Lotus, old Ridas, and maybe some of Twisted's back catalog. Even I'm not sure, but Twisted has most of their masters. But they don't get any new streams of revenue. Anything new is now gone. There's no more new Lotus to make. There's no more new Ridas to make. There's no more new Twisted albums that ICP can make money from. And to that end, Twisted can't make money from anything they do with ICP anymore. So I don't think it holds water. My theory is that Violent J hates Twisted for some ancient reason involving a girl. I have no evidence for this, just a gut feeling. Mr. Reef, you're correct. I agree.
I like
In fact, it was all over that bits from Letters to Cleo.
I was going to say I like this theory because it's not Monoxide or Madrox. Twisted as a whole stole a girl from Violet J.
That's okay because the truth of the matter is this. Going back to the ICP Twisted beef, I will say this. I think most every Juggalo in the world knows the real beef is between Violent J and Monoxide. Like that's where the real fucking problems are. Um, if you took those two's anger at each other and got rid of that, then I think you could have peace. But those two are really at each other. Right? They don't like each other. I don't know. Okay, I've got a couple here. Ozzy Osbourne did did bite the head off the bat, but he didn't mean to. It was an accident. He did not think it was real, according to him, anyway.
Well, I mean, as many drugs as he was on, I absolutely believe that.
That's yeah, exactly. People say drugs are no excuse. Being high on drugs are no excuse. I'm like, sometimes they are. Like, if you think it's a fake bat and then you bite into it and go, "Oh, that's a real bat." Were you high? Yeah, okay.
I
I'll
mean,
give you a pass if you were high. I get it. You didn't mean to.
thus hasn't ridden a crocodile on bath salts.
I I I mean, this is a Juggalo video thing, so I mean, plenty of people on here have done bath salts. I'm positive of that.
No, the crocodile was on bath salts, not me.
He did intentionally bite the head off a pigeon, and he intentionally pissed on the Alamo.
Well, don't forget.
Um, okay, Led Zeppelin sold their souls to the devil. I don't think that's true. And, I mean, of course, there's no way of knowing. First off, you'd have to believe in a devil, which I don't. But if you do believe in the devil, there's still no way of proving whether they did that or not. But they did steal a lot of music from black artists. That
I think
one's
that's
undeniable.
I think that's part of a larger thing. The whole selling your soul to the devil for um,
That's still
talent.
happening.
Funny enough, so I was doing some research earlier. The oldest urban legend that I could find, like the absolute oldest one that exists, is called the Smith and the Devil. And devil here isn't used like Satan devil because this thing is 6,000 years old. But basically, he sells his. There's a blacksmith, and he sells his soul to the devil for the ability to weld any materials together, and then uses that ability to chain the devil to an immovable object and get the fuck out.
Oh, interesting.
And then later, you've got crossroad demons, Satan, all that stuff for music. But as like one of the oldest urban legends in the
Huh.
world.
JD Vance was the first president to own the Great Malenko. JD Vance's eyeliner is just twisted face paint that won't come off. Um, JD Vance the first one to own the Great Malenko? I don't know, because if you look at Obama's age, it's very possible he might have been, because he would have been in like what, college around the time Malenko came out. It's possible he might have owned it or at least bumped it. You never know.
Am I missing
Um,
something here? Is JD Vance a ICP fan?
I don't think JD Vance is from Central Ohio and was 15 when Freak Show came out. Damn, that really does. Ah, he's from the Midwest. He was 15 during the best era of psychopathic, but
Is he cool enough?
uh, well, Juggalos come in all shapes, sizes, and genders, and political affiliations for that matter. I don't know if he was into the Juggalo thing. I don't. With the elitist kind of attitude that guy carries, I don't see him really vibing in the Juggalo community very well. He probably only liked it surface level, if he did like it at all. That's all I
What
can say.
guy who listens to country pop or pop country or whatever the fuck you want to call it?
He probably does listen to that. That's funny though. Yeah, liked ICP in like 2003. It was uncool to him. Yeah, I knew a lot of kids that loved ICP, and like when Malenko and Jekyll Brothers was out, and then all of a sudden like ICP was passe or something. Um, yeah. Okay, Scott, you got any other?
I was saved from that by Twisted.
Huh?
I was saved from the whole no ICP isn't cool anymore by Twisted because I heard Twisted. I was like, no, fuck you guys. This is awesome.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think Twisted and the other groups on the label kept a lot more Juggalos in the mix than would have stayed in the mix if it had just been ICP. That's just my opinion, but there's no way to go back in time and prove that. But I think it's true. I think that ICP creating a big network of artists caused more people to stick around longer because there was more to check out.
Uh,
Um,
more. Um, so Keith Richards mixed his dad's ashes with cocaine and snorted him. He did say that happened, but he later recanted, and I honestly don't know if he recanted because it was like he thought he shouldn't do that, or if he
Keith
didn't do it.
Richards did what now?
Keith Richards said that he mixed his dad's ashes with cocaine and snorted it. And he later recanted and said it was a joke, but I don't know. It's Keith Richards. He might have done it.
Um, it occurs to me that like when you're a rock star and you're trying to, project an image, you might say something crazy like that to make yourself seem wilder than you are. But also, it occurs to me that if you had done that later on, you might regret telling people and you might try to recant it. So yeah, it's hard telling. It really is.
And
Um,
my last one is not true, and we know for a fact it's not true. It's a zero, but it was one that I heard a lot. Mr. Rogers was a black ops sniper who wore sweaters to cover all of his tattoos.
I'm sorry. Say what now?
Mr. Rogers was a black ops sniper, and he wore sweaters to cover up all of his tattoos.
Oh yeah, and that's definitely not true. Cat gang. To answer your question, yes, you can. I don't care. But okay, hold on. There's okay. So so much going on. Mr. Rogers, definitely that's not true. Okay, Mr. Rogers was a fucking preacher.
Yeah,
Um,
but I heard that a lot growing up.
okay, JJ says Twisted Save Psychopathic. I agree. Not everybody does. ICP is the Grateful Dead of hip hop. Um, in
Huh.
terms of fan base, loyalty, and all that stuff, yes. Sonically, not even close. ABK saved Psychopathic. LOL. Thank you for putting an LOL at the end of it because that's where that belonged. The last good album by the ICP was the Amazing Jekyll Brothers. Not true. JJ, not possible. It's not a good album. Yes, it is. Violent J today is the same age Jerry Garcia was when he passed away. That's interesting. Um, Ultimate Warrior died a bunch of times. I don't know about if you're going with Ultimate Warrior died a bunch of times. If you're going with Mandela effect, for me it was Billy Graham that died like at least 3 times while I've been alive. Now he's finally dead. I think we can all agree he's finally dead. But I remember the last time he died, remembering the time before that he died. I was on my way to work listening to NPR and they said he died. And then like 3 years later, they're like, he died. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Billy Graham's been dead for at least 3 years. Anyway, I remember just a little tidbit about Billy Graham. If you're from the South, like me and Scott, Billy Graham is a much more influential name than it is if you live in, say, uh, Portland, Oregon. Um, we've got like Billy Graham Parkway. We've got the Billy Graham Library. It's a whole thing. Lindsey Graham, his son or brother or something, is the senator for South Carolina. Was ICP's Play With Me, and ICP's Play With Me was supposed to be in the Bride of Chucky soundtrack. They told him fuck off, and that was a dumb move.
How about
um,
how about some real ones? Like Steven Seagal was choked unconscious and promptly shat himself after a stunt double on a movie choked him out. That happened.
that sounds true because I mean, for one, yeah, I mean that you researched that and that is true.
Oh yeah, yeah. Multiple people were there and have been like, yeah, yeah. He kept saying that his Aikido training would stop him from being. It made him immune from choke holds. So the dude put him in a choke hold, and he goes out, and he's like, no, 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 you didn't really. And so he did it again until he like lost consciousness and fell, and he immediately shat himself.
Well, see, when I turned 40, I officially swore off fighting.
Yeah.
I no longer fight anymore because I've got high blood pressure. I'm getting old. My back's starting to hurt, etc. I just have the 45 now, so I can just tell people you can't choke me out because I'll shoot you with my 45. Mandela effect. ICP Tilt the World is the lyrics. They all die or they all won't ride. I thought it was hang on die. Hang on die. That's what I thought it was.
They all die. I thought it was they all die.
If you want to wait. Let's clear some shit up here. Because okay, you and I were discussing this the other night. See, Mr. Reef agrees with me. Scott and I were discussing this the other night. In the song Southwest Voodoo, first off, the lyrics for Southwest Voodoo or any song on Great Malenko have never been officially published by ICP. So any lyrics you find online are fan written. And most of the time, you find the lyrics for Southwest Voodoo. Shaggy says, "Wicked voodoo, dope, dark, killer." And I am 1,000% positive that is not what he's saying. He's saying wicked voodoo joker killer. Just my opinion, but I'm positive that's what he's saying.
And I thought it was doped up until he told me that, and then I went and listened to it, and now I can hear it.
Wicked voodoo joker killer just makes more sense to me. I mean, that's what they are. They're wicked voodoo joker killers. But I digress. Here's some that are true. Almost everything you've heard about G.G. Allen. All the stuff you've heard about Marilyn Manson that's not true is usually shit that G.G. Allen actually did do. G.G.
My
Allen assaulted and raped members of the audience. Thank you, Mr. Reef. Dope drug dealer. See, there's so many different. But yeah, G.G. Allen he would shit on stage, piss on stage, molest members of the audience, cut himself with glass, and he didn't kill himself on stage, though he promised one day he would. He did play a show that lasted all of 20 seconds. Then he ran out naked in the streets of New York, went back to someone's apartment, and proceeded to overdose on heroin. And then at his funeral, he was laying in a coffin with nothing but a jock strap and his leather jacket and some cowboy boots. And he was leaking. I'm not kidding. This really happened. He was leaking embalming fluid, and people were pulling the Jack Daniels bottle from his dead hands and swigging from it. And yes, Oliver Twisted is right. His born name was Jesus Christ Allen. G.G. Allen was asked to play Trump's inauguration in 2017. Trump discovered he was dead, unfortunately. Sounds about right. Um, What's funny because his brother is still alive, and his brother is a hardcore Trumper, actually. But you know what's funny is I'm I'm just reporting what's happening. Okay, his brother is a hardcore Trumper, and he also has this fucking Hitler mustache right here. Like this, like it's like a regular mustache. It's all like white here, but he just dyes this part black to look like Hitler. And I'm like, oh, and you're a Trump supporter? I can't even believe that. I just,
Can we take a small detour to remember when Michael Jordan had a fucking Hitler mustache?
I do. And he was in commercials with that fucking thing.
The fuck was he thinking?
Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah, but come on. And yes, look, I love Charlie Chaplin as much as the next guy, but that mustache is ruined.
I wouldn't have one, but Michael Jordan thinks he's above that. He's like,
That's true.
I do what I want, whatever. You got any urban myths?
Last one, which just sounds like an urban legend, and that's David Carradine accidentally died from autoerotic asphyxiation in a hotel room in Bangkok.
Eminem had a great line about that. Like David Carradine, you can all go fuck yourselves and die. Um,
I hope
oh
for his
yeah,
that was the best orgasm of his life.
do what?
I hope for his sake it was the best orgasm of his life.
I hope so too. It probably had to be. It had to be. It was so good. He was like, nah, a little longer, a little longer. I can do it. I can hold that. Oh no.
Don't he was coming or going.
Michael Jordan had a Hitler mustache 2008. The NBA asked him to shave it, and he didn't, and did a Hanes ad with it. Yes, like I said. And Mr. Eve, you're like the only guy in the world who gets away with that, though. And I'm not sure why, but having watched your video, and for the record, I don't even have any skin in the game when it comes to Humble Among. I don't know the guy from fucking Adam. I don't really watch his videos, but that diss was so good. Um, like I told you before, we were on that podcast together, and I was like, I'm a rapper, and I take diss tracks very seriously, and I'm really good at them. But I would not be excited about having to battle you on the mic. I will say that it would not be something I looked forward to. Um, I remember you were very kind. Yes, I try to be kind. I try to be kind. Okay, I have some. Okay, Burzum. In the early '90s, Burzum. There were whispers that the black metal guys from Norway, known as Burzum, were torturing churches, as it was assumed to be a shock value gossip, bunch of bullshit, but it was in fact true. Varg Vikernes, not great at pronouncing those Norwegian names, was arrested for arson and murder. The rumors were all true. Mayhem also, fucking, I believe they were Norwegian black metal. I know they were like black metal. Um, they, everything you heard about Mayhem is true, basically. The singer's name was Dead, or his nickname. I guess it's not what he was born as. But he would bury his clothes in the dirt. Yes, Isham did pull a gun on Jay. Um, but he would bury his clothes in the dirt and then pull them out right before the show. Um, Isham called Violent J a chomo. Yeah, yeah, but you can't take anything Isham says seriously, dude. Isham says the craziest shit in the world. Isham is like, if you went on Isham's Twitter like 2 years ago, he was like super hyping up Kanye as like the greatest thing in the world, and I was just like, okay, Isham. Um,
If you say
he,
Isham's name 3 times, he will appear.
Isham's early shit is some of my favorite music in the world, but the dude is out of his fucking gourd. Anybody who watches him, yeah, Isham is a Trumper now, and it's not ironic. Yes, I know that. I know that about Isham. Isham's nuts. Like Isham is out of his mind. I've seen El Duce. I, El Duce was. So not many people know who El Duce or the mentors even were. That's something I have to come back to later because no one has a frame of reference. And no, Mr. Eve, I don't know if he still is, but at one point, Esham was singing the praises of Mr. Trump. But Mayhem was a black metal band. Um, their singer dead. He killed himself, shot himself in the face with a fucking shotgun. Yes, Necro was a Trumper. Shot himself in the face with a shotgun. And Euronymous, the guitar player, took a picture of it and they used it as the cover of their album. Moreover, he picked up pieces of the guy's skull and made necklaces from it, gave them to different black metal bands he deemed worthy. That really happened. The Misfits really did rob graves and just basically stole bones for their own little keepsakes. Captain Beefheart recorded in a literal house prison, locked his band in a house, rationed food, and forced marathon rehearsals like a cult leader. It's confirmed by the band themselves. Screamin' Jay Hawkins. Now, Juggalos might find this interesting. Screamin' Jay Hawkins um, would come out in a coffin on stage, which is something Esham and later Twisted would adopt as their stage entrance. So that's kind of neat. And that is it for the celebrity famous. Now I've got like spooky ones. What do you got, Scott?
I think I'm good with the celebrity ones. The only so I've got generalized media ones like TV shows, movies, and one video game one. I don't know if you know about. I'll do that one real quick because it's just one. Do you know about Polybius?
Oh, what?
Polybius. It's a
Oh
lost art.
yes, yes, I do because Nine Inch Nails made a video with Polybius in it.
Exactly. Yeah. So for those who don't know, um, it's an arcade game that supposedly made people suffer amnesia, nightmares, and hallucinations, and was so addictive that people would play it until they went insane or die. That being said, there was a 32-year-old Taiwan man who died after a 3-day gaming session in a public, like internet cafe,
Uh
which
huh.
it's not really related, but I do think it's interesting that people have died, not necessarily from playing video games. He died from not eating and drinking, and from exhaustion. But
But the
I love
video game certainly helped.
right. I love the idea of making the game. Well, yes and no. He was unemployed and like had no life and had other issues. I don't know that it's fair to play the video game or blame the video game. Although, as you know, video games have been like scientifically enhanced to be more addictive.
Oh, I
They
know.
awful.
There's a reason. Like I'm the only guy I know who's not a gamer. Like everyone I know is a pretty big gamer, and I don't game much because. And a big part of that is there are some games I play. Don't get me wrong, but
Man, smart.
oh, see, Mr. Eve knows about the orange juice guy I was talking to you about the other night. Um, but yeah, part
Oh,
of the reason I don't game much is because I know how addicted I could get to it, and I don't want to. I've got enough vices in my life. If you're asking yourself why is Josh moving his jaw around so much in this video, there's a reason. So I don't need video games.
fair enough.
Yeah,
But
the orange juice acid guy. So for those of you who don't know, it's Mr. Mad Rock's first name, Jamie. No, I'm just kidding. For those of you who don't know, um, I was told this in high school myself by a guy who said his uncle did so much acid that he thought he was a glass of orange juice, and to this day, he's still in a mental institution, uh, terrified someone's going to knock him over and spill him, which is not true. First off, it's not true. But second off, the more important thing is, what if you just push him over? What if you push him over and that breaks the spell? Pretending it's true. Maybe that breaks the spell, is pushing him over.
I mean, we got to find him first and then spill
Yeah,
him.
well, he doesn't. He's not real. I was just saying, if he was, maybe
What if
pushing
you
him over is the answer.
wait? What if you pushed him over and orange juice came out of every orifice of his body?
That'd be fucking awesome. That someone needs to make a short film of that. I need to
Uh,
make a short film of that. And you play Orange Juice guy. No, or you or Mr. Eve plays Orange Juice guy. Not sure. One of you two though. Maybe you play the Orange Juice guy, and Mr. Eve drops a diss track to you after you get spilled.
El Dandy, I think it depends on what culture, to be completely honest. Because I'm not. I'm gonna play the new Borderlands game when it comes out, but for the most part, I'm not into shooters. I'm not playing Call of Duty. Those people are toxic as fuck. What I do play are mostly either single player or co-op games like Baldur's Gate 3 and stuff like that, which I feel have a fairly wholesome fan base. Man, you can play Mario. You don't have to play new games.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what I was gonna say. The games I do play are mostly retro games. I play Mortal Kombat. I play Super Mario World in particular for SNES. I play Sonic the Hedgehog. I'll play a little NBA Jam. I'll even go as far as like PS1, and I'll play like some Twisted Metal or some Jet Moto or something like that. And the newest game I like is I still enjoy occasionally playing GTA 5. But like I don't get locked into it or anything, you know. It's like something I'll play for a week and then I'm done.
well, I
Um,
play a lot of video games, but and I'll show you guys. That's not my real hobby. Like that's
yeah,
that's
books are your hobby. Is it? That's a great question. Is it an urban legend or true that Red Dead Redemption 2 is based on Blood Meridian? I don't know, but Blood Meridian is like my favorite book of all time, besides maybe Fear and Loathing and mm, maybe Books of Blood by Clive Barker. The first one, Books of Blood, volumes 1 through 3. Um, but if that's true, I don't know. I'd have to look that up. That if that's true, that one might actually make me want to play that because fuck if I don't love Blood Meridian. And a video game would be a way better way to adapt Blood Meridian than a movie, actually, because a
I
movie would be hard to make a Blood Meridian.
I can safely say I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No, I've played
Well,
it.
I mean, to be fair, one of those Zelda games was based on Twin Peaks.
That's true. That's true.
I think
Um,
it's a
uh,
Link to the Past.
there's a lot of cool Zelda trivia. The first Game Boy game, Link's Awakening, was completely made by one dude who took a copy of the assets home from the Super Nintendo game Link to the Past and worked on it at the same time. And he brought it in, and they liked it so much they actually published it.
Oh, okay. Okay, this is actually a good one that Eve put on there. He asked, "Did the poltergeist girl get assaulted to death?" Poltergeist is actually a great movie to bring up in this conversation because Poltergeist is has a few. I think you're getting her confused with the girl who did the voice of Ducky and Anne in The Land Before Time and Anne Marie and All Dogs Go to Heaven. That girl, her name was Judith something. She she was murdered by her abusive father.
Stepfather.
Um, the girl in Poltergeist died of natural causes. It was a bad disease that made her face swell up. In the third one, you can see it quite a bit. However, there is an urban legend about Poltergeist that's totally true, and that is that the bodies in the pool at the end of the movie were real skeletons. And the special effects guy, when interviewed about it, goes, "What do you think? Do you think we spent all the money making a bunch of realistic looking skeletons? Or do you think we went to the fucking university right down the street and got some for real cheap that were real skeletons?" Yes, they were real bodies. So, yes, there are real bodies in that. Um, I'm pretty sure Mr. Eve's questioning me. I'm pretty sure the girl who played Carol Ann in oh, you're okay. Carol Ann, you're wrong. I was thinking Carol Ann. Carol Ann died of a disease. The older sister was murdered on Halloween. There's a lot of shit around Poltergeist. The older sister, the girl who played the older sister, she was murdered by a boyfriend, I think.
So Poltergeist falls into the same genre of cursed films like The Exorcist, The Crow, Rosemary's Baby, and they all have very similar themes of you've got some deaths attributed to happening right after it. you've got haunted locations. I think with The Crow, one of the urban legends was that the footage where Brandon Lee got shot was actually used in the movie. It wasn't.
It wasn't. But
Um,
Michael Massey is the guy who shot him. He did not know the gun was loaded, and it caused him to have a very bad drinking problem for the rest of his life. As far as I know, it really fucked him up. And the footage did exist; they just destroyed it. Uh, and quite frankly, I don't want to see the footage of Brandon Lee dying because A, love Bruce Lee, B, love Brandon Lee, C, The Crow is one of my favorite '90s movies of all time, but I do want to hear the footage of Timothy Treadwell and Grizzly Man getting eaten up. I ain't gonna lie about that.
no, thank you. I'm good on that.
I'm sorry, that dude went out to the fucking wilds of Alaska to hang out with Kodiak bears and got eaten.
So don't get me wrong, and I'm with you on this. And it's funny because then you and I flip flop on people getting lost in caves, and I'm like, they shouldn't have done that. Um, but so he had done it before multiple times. He ended up missing a flight, I believe, and staying later than he intended to. The the bears that attacked him, they think maybe he actually had seen the one that ended up killing him earlier and said, "I don't like that bear," or "I don't like the way that bear's behaving."
The
But
thing is, when you get out of the car in a bad neighborhood, you don't get to pick and choose which people you interact with necessarily.
that's
When
true.
you get out of the car in the wilds of Alaska, you don't necessarily get to pick and choose just the nice bears. You might have to tussle with some of the mean ones.
Uh,
Is Twisted Through Your Eyes a diss at ICP? I don't think so. No, I think it's just a diss to mainstream rappers in general. Frankenstein. That's all I'll say.
I want to go back to curses for a minute because I think that's one of the oldest versions of urban legend that exist. Go back to like King Tutankhamun and opening up his tomb and stuff, and they've attributed there was like a cluster of deaths right after that, but they've attributed that to bacteria and stuff in the tomb that was trapped there until they opened it. And I'm like, maybe it's not magic, but that does seem like a good curse.
It does. Now I've got an urban myth that is this is the urban myth I've been waiting to tell this whole time, okay?
Hear
This
it.
is absolutely disgusting and it's my favorite urban legend of all time, okay? And you probably know what I'm about to tell, Scott. I think I've told it to you before, but if I haven't, you're in for a treat. Everyone, this is gross. Trigger warning. Bleh. That's all I'm giving you. Okay. Uh, so the story goes that a woman, presumably a rather lonely one, went to the grocery store and picked herself out a lobster. Now, some grocery stores sell fresh lobsters. Well, this one did, and she picked her out a nice, plump, red, well, dark red lobster. They don't get real red till you boil them. Picked herself out a nice lobster and took it home with her. Was she planning on having a seafood dinner that night? No, she wasn't. Instead, she was planning to use the lobster to masturbate with. She took the lobster, stuck it in it. She got in the bathtub first, stuck it in her vagina, the tail first, stuck tail into her vagina, and then took a lighter and lit it and pressed it to the lobster's face so that its tail would start flipping back and forth, going crazy in her vagina. Um, when she did that, somebody signed off. When she did that, she unknowingly caused the lobster to lose control of its bowels. She woke up in the middle of the night feeling something odd in her, went and sat down on the toilet, and released a buttload of shrimp that had hatched from mud shrimp eggs the lobster had eaten earlier and shit into her pussy. This caused her to go into shock, fall over, faint, hit her head on the bathtub, and die. It's completely false. It didn't really happen, unfortunately. But it was circulating on the early days of the internet for a long time. I remember reading it in like chain emails and stuff, and on message boards, and you can finally now you can look it up. It's made the rounds enough. You know, you can just look up lady masturbation lobster mud shrimp, but just the sheer image of that, some woman birthing mud shrimp out of her pussy into the toilet, isn't that beautiful?
So let me so to continue your theme, um, except this is totally real, uh, Mr. Horse.
No,
The
sir, I
dude
don't like it.
the dude who, went ahead and had sex with a horse and it killed him.
Yes, that happened. And actually, it was part of a. They discovered it was part of a larger horse fucking ring. It was like a whole fucking gathering of people who got together and fucked livestock. That was just like one video of many. Most of them, people didn't die in them. Um, David Cronenberg gonna sue somebody over the. Yeah, yeah,
Huh?
yeah. Cronenberg is. I watch a lot of horror. I'm a horror fucking nerd. And Scott will tell you when it comes to Cronenberg, I have a lot of trouble, especially with like The Brood and his some of his body horror. Man, I can't look at it. I just can't do it. I try. I know the guy's a brilliant filmmaker, but body horror is the one type of horror that actually gets to me.
Which, funny enough, is the one that doesn't really bother me that much.
So I promised people some spooky stuff.
Oh, yeah,
So
we gotta do it.
we got to talk about some of the shit that's like that you would find in scary stories to tell in the dark, and books similar. Although there's only one scary stories to tell in the dark. If you grew up reading it, you know what I'm talking about. Um, Such as the Hook Hand Killer, teen couple hears a scratching outside their car. Um, Tetsuo, Iron Man, and Videodrome. And Videodrome, when he gets that pussy in his stomach and starts fucking sticking his hand, I don't know, bro. Um, but yeah, Hook Hand Killer, teen couple, they're parked and they've heard that there's an escaped lunatic with a hook for a hand. They hear scratching on their car. The guy's trying to fuck her. She's like, no, I want to go home. The guy's like, come on, let me fuck you. And she's like, no, no, no pussy tonight. Take me home. And he takes her home. And when they get out, he finds that there's a hook attached to the door handle of his car. And he's just like, yeah, but I could have had sex.
I,
Because,
love those. The ones that seemingly have some kind of moral is, well, if you'd stayed and had sex, you would have died. Um, if you do this, you die. If you do this, or to put it, go on the other side of it, Bloody Mary.
mhm.
Don't say it and you're fine. Say it 3 times or 5 times or 7 times in a mirror. Here comes Bloody Mary. She's gonna kill you.
And in truth, you can say Bloody Mary or Candyman or whatever in the mirror as many times as you like, and nothing will happen.
Unless, do you know what frogging is? Phrogging.
Frogging. Well,
It's
I
when
when my dog lays on the bed with her legs flat out, I call that frogging.
So I didn't know there was a word for this until I looked it up because I was trying to look up people living in the walls, people living in hidden rooms in people's houses. There's a word for it. It's called frogging. So it is
Oh,
possible. It is possible that you say Bloody Mary 3 times in the mirror and get stabbed. It just won't be Bloody Mary. It'll be
it
somebody
won't be
who
Bloody
lives.
Mary. It's some dude named Chuck.
Some fucking guy named Chuck living in your walls.
Yeah, don't look in the mirror and go Chuck, 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 Chuck. That'll fuck you up. There's the killer in the back seat, woman driving home at night. There's a car flashing its high beams at her, and she doesn't understand why. Turns out there's a killer hiding in her back seat. If you've ever seen the movie Urban Legend, it opens with that. It opens with Brad Dourif, one of the greatest actors of all time, and the voice of Chucky, trying to warn her, someone's in the back seat. But to no avail, she gets killed by the guy in the back seat. But it's never really happened, and the hook hand has never really happened. The babysitter, the calls coming from inside the house. Um,
We have
never,
some ones.
no reported, no documented Not funny. My name is Chuck. Chuck?
Watch out,
I was
guy.
gonna say, I don't know, Chuck. Are you living in my attic? Because if you are, honestly, it's I don't ever go up there. Um, when I put pimento cheese in my fridge, though, that is for me. Don't eat my pimento cheese. You can have if you make a frozen pizza or whatever, but don't eat my pimento cheese. Um,
Vanishing hitchhiker.
Vanishing Hitchhiker. I would say, it's always like, the answer is like there's no confirmed sources, but it could have happened.
Well,
I
I
mean,
feel like the killer in the back seat. Now, I don't know about the flashing lights and stuff, but I feel like that has to have happened at some point. Somebody's ridden in the back of a car and murdered somebody.
yeah, probably so. I mean, these things are so plausible that it's hard telling if they did or didn't happen. I mean, there's been so many crimes throughout American history, throughout international history that, how would you know really if some of these have happened? Like, okay, there are, however, plenty of documented cases of organ harvesting. I don't know if it happens exactly like they depict it, like you wake up in a bathtub full of ice and your kidney's gone. But it's more, I think, more often than not, they just kill you, and it's people who are like prisoners or homeless people or basically people who are easy to make disappear or nobody's going to care about. The organ harvesting is a real thing. Um, Bloody Harry and Bloody Harry, Bloody Harry, the sequel to Dirty Harry. Um, the Yuba County Five sounds like an urban legend to me, but is true similar to the Bluff Pass. I'm not familiar with. I know about the Dyatlov Pass, but the Yuba I'm not sure. I do know about Hinterfect, however it's pronounced. Hinkter. I've got it written down here somewhere. Hinterfect. Um, it is I Hinterkaifeck, the Hinterkaifeck murders. That is a scary ass fucking urban myth that is true. It's not an urban myth. This is a true story. German farmstead, 1922. Family is hearing footsteps in the attic for weeks. Tools are going missing. Dogs barking at nothing. Then, well, they reported this shit, and nobody could figure anything out about it. Then one day, someone finds them, and they're all murdered, like brutally murdered. And it was somebody who had been living in the attic. They think, and the scariest part though is that they got beat to death with like a hammer, and one of the people they determined was laying there still alive, ripping clumps of hair out of their own head while they bled to death. I could be like an involuntary, I don't know, but read about the it's spelled Hinterkaifeck, Hin- Hinterkaifeck murders, and they were in Germany. Read about those. That shit's scary. Remember the scary story about the person who adopts a giant sewer rat thinking it's a dog? Yes, I do. And that was a great one. But it could have happened. I mean, who knows?
I mean, speaking of pets, one of the oldest urban legends that I was able to find is the one about a pet licking the owner under the table at dinner, and then the next morning they find the pet dead, the dog usually dead, and written in blood it says humans can lick too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That one's never. I've got that one on here, and it's never been confirmed. But I mean, the
Really
thing
old.
is okay. Having been a true crime writer, I know how easily shit can get construed wrong. For example, the police in New Orleans. Okay, there was a murder case in New Orleans called the Zach and Addie murders. I've been to the house where that was carried out, and the hotel where Zach jumped off, all that shit. I wrote extensively about this. If you ever want to read some of the shit I've written on it and shoot me a message, I'll give it to you, no charge. But suffice it to say, it became a really huge fucking debatable point of whether or not Zach ate Addie. She was his girlfriend. He murdered her. Basically, that's the story. It was in New Orleans. It was right after Katrina. He murdered her, and he did cook her. But conflicting reports. Some say that he was cooking her to try and break her down. After he dismembered her in the bathtub, he was just cooking her to try and break down the body more. Other people say that he ate her. The police officially state he did not eat her. However, I have seen the crime scene photos, and I can tell you this much: there is a picture with a fork in a leg. So I lean towards he ate her. All right.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, as you know, I have a hard line on cannibalism, unlike one of our friends who we're not sure if we want to invite to barbecues anymore.
Well, you know he he's an interesting cat. Do you have a particular one you really want to throw out, Scott?
The Well to Hell.
Okay, let's hear it.
All right, so I don't. Do you not remember that one? So it was that there was a recording to hell from so over in
Oh
North
yes, yes, yes. I do remember now.
3 mile long hole into the earth, and it's supposed to be recording from screams of people, and it actually ends up being like from the soundtrack of this 1972 movie, Baron Blood, or at least part of it is. And the only reason it really blew up was the American Christian Trinity Broadcasting picked it up, network picked it up, and broadcast it on the network, claiming that it was proof of the literal existence of hell. I remember a kid coming around with like a tape of it when I was in elementary school and playing it.
Man, I remember it. I never thought it was real. I remember. I'll tell you something funny. When before the days of Blair Witch being real, the the real pimp move was to give somebody a copy of Cannibal Holocaust and tell them it's real, and it's way more effective because a lot of it is real. The human killings are not real, but the animal killings all real, and the human killings look very real. They were using some really good effects. Ruggero Deodato, uh, psychopath, but good at making films. Um, anyway, I think we've been on here for hour and a half now. I think we've kind of covered. There's no way to cover everything.
Oh, not at all. I
You,
think we've done. I mean, there are other things I would love to talk about. Maybe we can do that. Do another podcast at some
yeah,
point.
no reason
Because
not to.
I kind of want to go back further and go into like fairy tales and stuff. Because really, the only difference between a fairy tale and an urban legend is time.
That's true. Does anybody in the chat have anything they want us to bring up real quick? I'm going to give you 10 seconds. Nine, eight, there might be a delay. Seven,
There is.
six, five, four, three, two, ace. All right, now since there's a delay, I'll give it another 5 seconds or so. Whoop,
Whoop
whoop,
whoop.
whoop to the motherfucking whoop. Thanks for watching. All right, looks like nobody else has anything. So I guess, Scott, thank you for being a lovely special guest. Um, and we appreciate your letting us see your book collection, making sure we know how smart you are and that you can read. No, I'm just kidding. We appreciate you coming on here. Good conversation as always. Thanks to everybody who watched, commented, liked, subscribed. If you haven't done that yet, do it now. No time like the present. Later.
Later.